Good morning, dear students. In this session, let us discuss the poem Equality written by Maya Angelou, an Afro-American poet. In this poem, we try to understand the poet's demand to be seen and heard by the white Americans or the whites. We try to understand the questions she poses to the whites. Maya Angelou poses so many questions to the whites. We try to understand why she poses the questions and what are the answers of the whites for those questions. We try to understand the attempts the poet made to make the whites understand the inner voice of the Afro-Americans. She makes an attempt to make the white Americans or the white to understand the inner voice of the Afro-Americans or blacks. After going through this session, we learn about the discrimination and racism practiced in America. And we also learn the ways the poet questions the whites' authority over the blacks. She questions the whites' authority over the black people in America. And we will be in a position to appreciate the repetitions and imagery she uses in the poem. The poem Equality talks about how Maya Angelou wants to be equal with the other. The other here stands for the Americans, white Americans. She wants to be equal with all the other white Americans or with the whites. The poem talks about equality. That is what she demands in American society. The poem consists of 3 parts and it has 6 stanzas with a refrain of 2 lines in between. Every part is followed by a refrain of 2 lines. The poem tries to address the importance of equality and freedom without segregation, discrimination and racism. The speaker or the poet Maya Angelou tries to address the importance of equality and freedom. She wants equality without segregation, separation, discrimination on the basis of color and racism. So the words I and we in the poem stand for Afro-Americans. And the word you stands for white Americans. The whites in America undermine the speaker or Afro-Americans, though she stands before them as an underdog on time. Even though she is very, very submissive before the white Americans, they undermine her, neglect her, do not take her into consideration. The white Americans do not take the Afro-Americans or the Negroes seriously. The black people are undermined, neglected, even though they surrender, submit before their authority. They find her dim. They do not find her equal to them in status. She looks dark before them. And as a glass that shines not. You see the imagery that is used to compare her color to the color of the glass that shines not. She is a dark colored lady. Afro-Americans are black as we know. They find the Afro-Americans a dim colored people. They are just like a glass that does not shine. It is a metaphor. They are compared to a glass that doesn't shine. So the paradox of light and dark. The color light and dark indicates the discrimination and racism that is practiced in America. The white Americans talk about the color dim. They talk about the glass that does not shine. So we find the color imagery, the color of light and the color of dark. Light stands for the white Americans and dark stands for the Afro-Americans. So it is very clear that discrimination and racism is practiced in America. The speaker wants to be heard. Even though she is discriminated, Afro-Americans are discriminated on the basis of color and race. She wants to be heard by the white Americans. The whites want her hear the black faintly as if they whisper. The white Americans don't want the black people speak louder. They expect them to speak faintly in a low voice as if they are whispering. Even they are not allowed to speak aloud. Their freedom and equality is curtailed. But our drums beat our message louder. Since he is an Afro-American, they generally beat the drums. So the drums that she beat her message louder than her words. It is a metaphor for her inner voice. Afro-Americans have their own inner voice. The poet conveys her inner voice through the beat of the drums. The drums speak much louder than her words, much louder than her poems. So the drum stands for the inner voice of the Afro-Americans. And the rhythms never change. The beating rhythm of the drum never changes. They want equality and freedom. That is the rhythm that they express through their drum beats. So the poet Maya Angelou implies that white society that she lives in cannot silence her despite how it views her. She makes it very, very clear to the white Americans that they cannot silence her. Whether they take her seriously or not, whether they take the Afro-Americans seriously or not, whatever might be their views on the Afro-Americans, but they cannot silence the Afro-Americans or the poet. She wants to be heard. See, questions are shadow view the white Americans had on the Afro-Americans. The whites accused the speaker being immoral. They attacked her personally. Since she was a black lady, they attacked her, accused her of immoral character for running after men. They blamed her as prostitute. They called her a lady who went after men. She is immoral. She defamed her personality, defamed her character. It is a sort of character assassination. They went to the extent of character assassination of this lady. But she did not bother for all these blames and accusations. She demanded them to hear her words. Even they called her ways of living wanton ways, playful ways, silly ways. They judged her for the things that she did. They did not take into consideration her character, personality. They judged her by the things that she did. She was undermined, neglected. Her character was not given much importance. Her personality was not given much importance. So she questions them whether they would have ever understood her. See, questions them straight away whether they would have ever understood her. And she just remained as their shadows. And she just remained as their shadow. She is another metaphor. She is just a shadow, not a human being. We know that shadows have no life, no physical form. Shadow is just a shade, a reflection of the real image. So this poet or Afro-American are just like shadows in America. They do not carry any weightage. They do not carry any personality. They are totally undermined, neglected. Their presence is not at all felt by the white Americans. The accusers cannot understand their own accusation. They go on accusing the Afro-Americans, but they are not able to understand their own accusations. So Maya Angelou marches ahead. She reminds them of her lived painful history and shameful past. She tells them that she lived the painful history and shameful past because of these white people. It is you people who caused me to have a painful history and shameful past because you discriminated on the basis of racism for a long time. So she experienced racism due to the white Americans. So she had to lead a painful history, shameful history, humiliating life she led for a long time. The Afro-Americans led a painful life, shameful life. They had a shameful past and painful past because of these white Americans. Here she identifies herself with the black Americans and warns the white Americans that they would, and warns them that the black Afro-Americans carry forward their march. She warns the white Americans that they would not stop their fight or march. They carry it forward until they get equality. They do not give up their fight unless they reach the target, unless they get equality. Not in one way, in all the ways. And even she warned them that the Afro-Americans would leave the white Americans behind, far behind. She means to say that they excel the white Americans in all the ways. They leave them behind and go forward. They march ahead of the white Americans. She is so confident. She is so bold and she is very, very vocal in her presentations. They break the barriers, she says. The Afro-Americans will break the barriers or hurdles that are there on their way, and they move far ahead of the white Americans and achieve their dream, reach their dream and become successful. That is why she says she marches ahead. Afro-Americans march ahead of the white Americans. Finally, she asks them to confess and admit the fault or mistake they did in American society. She warns the white Americans for ignoring the Afro-Americans or black Americans and blocking out the Afro-Americans. You have blocked or stopped or closed the doors press. You have stopped us from going ahead, marching ahead. Don't ignore us, don't stop us. She warns them. Take the blinders from your vision. She is very boldly asks them to take the blinders from your vision. You have closed your eyes. You cannot see the things as they are. You look at us from wearing the blinders on your eyes. Take them. And you do not listen to our voice. Take the padding from your ears. Open your eyes and ears. You are not ready to listen to our words. You are putting the pads on your ears, not to listen to our words. demands, cry. So she demands them to accept the fact that they have heard their cry. She wants to make them listen to her cry, listen to her demand, listen to their fight. And she demands them to admit that they caused their tears and saw their pain. She blames the white Americans for her pain, for her tears. It is only the white Americans who made her shed tears and who caused the pain for the Afro Americans by discrimination and ill treatment. So she asked them to hear the Afro Americans' inner voice. They have their own inner voice. She asked them to pay attention to the Afro Americans' intensely compelling voice. They have a compelling voice inside. She wants the white Americans to listen or pay attention to their inner voice. The voice of their boiling blood. The black people's blood is boiling. They no longer tolerate. They are boiling with the blood. They are very, very angry. They can no longer tolerate the humiliation, discrimination meted out to them by the white Americans. So the drums of the Afro Americans are beating. Their drums are beating aloud. Their drums are speaking, crying aloud to make the white Americans understand their emotions and feelings, their demand for equality, freedom. And the rhythm of them is the same as ever. Their drums never change their voice. They speak aloud always. They spoke aloud in the past. They speak aloud even now. They speak aloud even in the days to come. They cry for equality and freedom. The drums or the inner voice of the Afro Americans is for equality and freedom. They never stop their demand until they get these two. She keeps referring to the drums as a sign. She keeps referring to the drums in the poem. Drums is just a sign or a symbol that she is beating out the message of equality to everyone. So there is a refrain in the poem: equality and I will be free, equality and I will be free. This is the refrain that we find in the poem, which falls in between the stanzas. She says once she gets equality, once the Afro Americans get equality, they will be free. They want only equality and nothing else. These two lines are repeated after every two stanzas. The speaker or the poet equates equality with freedom. And to be equal in society is to be free within it. If one wants to be equal in society, is to be free within the society. All are to be treated equally in the society. Then only one can have equality. The repetition of the word equality or the refrain, the two lines, makes the point more pronounced. Our demand for freedom and equality is more pronounced in these two last lines. So separate two similarly structured verses are there. There are two similarly structured verses and they give a strong influence on the pace of the poem. And the poem introduces a hopeful, almost idealistic element to the poem. There is an hopeful and idealistic element in the poem amidst the darker atmosphere. The atmosphere in America is that the white Afro-Americans are discriminated. That discrimination and racism is very unlikely to disappear from the American society. But the Afro-Americans are hopeful and almost have an idealistic element. They are hopeful of the equality. They hope that they get equality in the days to come. They are waiting for the same with patience. So the poem almost reads as a chorus in the song. This refrain reads almost like a chorus in a song. It brings or adds more meaning to the poem. So this refrain is very, very meaningful. It separates two similarly structured verses, and it gives a strong influence on the pace of the poem, movement of the poem. Let us revise or recall whatever we learned in this poem. Maya Angelou paints the worlds of both the sides in the poem. She paints the picture of the whites and the picture of the blacks. She creates a clashing scenario in the poem, and she expresses her thoughts in mere three parts of the poem. In just three parts of the poem, she expresses her thoughts on the discrimination and racism practiced in America. Besides that, she claims that whether she is a whisper or a shout in the eyes or ears of the whites, she would be heard. She demands that whether she is a whisper or a shout for the white Americans, they may look her as a whisper or as a shouter, but what she wants is to be heard by the white Americans. The effective use of metaphors and repetitions in the poem create a sense of drive for equality, making a stronger message for equal rights between everyone. Let us assess our understanding by answering the questions. In the poem, Maya Angelou equates freedom with drums, shadow, rhythm, equality. She equates freedom with equality. Though the speaker whispers, her words are made louder by wantons, blinders, fading drums. Yes. Though the speaker or the poet whispers, her words are made louder by the drums. The drums speak much louder than the voice of the speaker in the poem. The phrase painful history and shameful past refer to slavery and racism practiced in America, the world wars, the argument between the blacks and whites, the appeal of the speaker. Painful history and shameful past refer to the slavery and racism practiced in America. So the black people have their own faithful history and shameful past because of the white Americans who ill-treated, discriminated them. The expression, I fly from man to man, refers to, there is an expression in the poem, I fly from man to man, flies, whites, shadows, a black woman as a prostitute. A black woman as a prostitute. The white Americans accused Maya Angelou as a person who fly from man to man. By this they mean that she is a prostitute. They mean to say that she is after men. That is a character assassination. The speaker asked the whites to confess that they blinded themselves. You have seen the black tears, you have heard their cry and fight, you have heard their blood drops in their veins. You have heard their cry and fight. And these are all the sites that I visited for preparation of this presentation. Thank you for listening.